Welcome back to the San Diego Opera Podcast. I'm Nick Ravellis, and again my guest is David Bennett, the Executive and Artistic Director of San Diego Opera. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Today, Rigoletto.
Here we are.
And I can't imagine a more exciting Verdi opera to do. I mean,
Absolutely.
there are some, and my favorite is Otello, and one day we'll get to it, I'm sure.
If you've been in my office, you see that it's on my board. So it's a future year we will do that.
There we go.
Yeah.
But Rigoletto, and I don't think of somebody who loves opera or is a musicologist or a musician or somebody who just adores Verdi. You can't do any better as that kind of a person than studying the first 2 years or 3 years of the 1850s.
Absolutely.
Because one after another, Traviata, Trovatore,
Yep.
Rigoletto,
Right.
three of the greatest works of that middle period. And I think Rigoletto's the best of the three.
I agree.
I just love it.
I agree. I think what many of us in this profession think of as Verdi's genius is that the drama is really in the score, right? And so it's all there.
Again, like Mozart and Bizet, when we're
Exactly,
talking about
right.
the other two operas.
So there's a
season.
theme that we should have played with this season, because it's actually what we have. But it's true, it's all in the score. So you really just have to play the intent in the score to have the drama work, I think.
Yeah. This opera cannot be done without an absolutely stellar cast. So I want to start with the singers, because I know we've got some really, really special people coming in.
Well, the reason why we haven't done Rigoletto in quite a while. That's one of the reasons why I chose it. I think 10 years was our last Rigoletto. But the real reason why this escalated in my list of works to do was because of the baritone Stephen Powell.
And that's what I wanted to get to,
Yeah.
because Stephen has been coming here
A lot.
for a long time.
Yeah.
So we've watched his career grow over the years, and
we can say maybe we're partly responsible for
I
his success.
would
right?
say so. Yeah.
And he had scored a big success with his 2 seasons ago as Germain in our Traviata. And I think when you come away from a production of Traviata where one of the moments that everyone remembers the most is the Germain, then you have a fantastic singing actor on your hands, which
absolutely.
we do with Stephen. And so I asked him about what roles he wanted to do, and this was the top of his list. Now he's doing it. He's done it before, but it's kind of he's in the beginning of this being the meat of his repertory. So that's the real reason why we decided to do that this year, was really for Stephen.
And just to reflect on that character for a moment, what other opera is there that focuses on a physically ugly and rather corrupt character who has one great moral saving grace, and that is that he absolutely loves and wants to protect his daughter.
Absolutely.
The most precious thing in his life.
Because ultimately he is sort of a redeeming character in a way, but you're right. I don't know. That's a very
But on the
interesting
outside,
question.
and this was very important to Verdi, that he really wanted to present a character with all his warts and all his ugliness. In the same way, I think he presents some female characters, like Lady Macbeth is that kind of a character. Azucena is that kind of a character. But for a baritone role, not to be a villain, but to be a really complicated character.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
And I think that's something that Stephen can pull off so beautifully.
I can't wait. Yeah, so Stephen is our Rigoletto, and I'm just thrilled to have him back. Rest of the cast, with the exception of one, are all newcomers. So our Gilda is Alyssa Jordheim, who's a very young singer, like our Susanna in Figaro, and actually like our Michaela. Alyssa looks very young. She's a petite soprano. She is a full sort of lyric coloratura. So there is actually some meat to her voice, which you sort of need in some of these scenes, because there's moments where the orchestra is quite big underneath Gilda. But she looks very young and looks appropriate for the relationship in terms of the age. So very believable, very beautiful singer.
Well, and here's another Verdi thing, right? Which is so odd and so Verdi from this period particularly, like Violetta, you've got a character who needs to have steel at the center of the voice. But you've got this coloratura that occasionally takes the soprano way, way up into the stratosphere.
Absolutely.
And that's tough to cast.
You think of the difference between Caro Nome and what she has to do in that, and some of the things that happen later in the opera where she really has to sing the steel.
And that are very dramatic.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good point. So she's going to be fantastic. I think our audiences are going to love her. Scott Quinn is our Duke, who's a young singer from Texas, but is making the rounds, has sung the role of the Duke several times in the past couple of years, but has a very big regional opera company, a very sort of young, handsome, I think he'll be a very seductive Duke.
And this is part of our, my thinking about the theme of this year is men behaving badly.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Because you've got Don Jose, who really goes off the, the end of the world with his drama, and Count Almaviva, who at least is forgiven at the end of that opera.
Right.
And you've got the Duke, who is purely a seducer.
Totally.
And yet again, here's Verdi's characterization. All of his music is beautiful because all of it has to be seductive.
That's exactly it. I mean, you have to believe that Gilda can be seduced by him, right?
Yeah.
And it's all it's in the score. The seduction is always there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then and our Maddalena is the one member of the cast that has been here before. It's Alyssa Anderson. And Alyssa was our Tisbe in our Cenerentola 2 seasons ago, if you remember, sort of a big, almost a contralto voice.
Yes.
Very sexy, very dark voice. And she's actually singing with her husband, who is our Sparafucile, and that's Kyle Albertson.
Oh, perfect.
So we're bringing back, last year we had the Grimsley couple.
Yeah.
This year we have another couple, which actually I think is a nice thing to be able to do, because the life of a singer, is inherently difficult, itinerant, and when you have two singers that have professional careers, how often do they get to actually be together?
Yeah.
So when we can hire them together, it's a nice thing to do.
That's terrific.
Yeah, so it's a very strong cast, and I think it's going to be phenomenal.
Tell us about the production. Is this a production we've seen before? Or?
It's not.
No.
It is a new production for us. It's a production we now own.
Oh, wonderful.
It's a production that we actually we were given this production from Seattle Opera. Yeah, and it's a production that has two versions. It's the production that we will produce this year is very traditional, very period production, and then it was remounted at some point within the past 5 or 6 years in Seattle with kind of a refresh. So it has an option that you can do, which is set in fascist Italy. When we're not doing that, we're doing the traditional production. So that's the physical set. It's ours now. We own it. The costumes are coming from Montreal, and Montreal is doing the same combination of sets and costumes this in September. So they'll be putting it together there, and we're actually using the same director, whose name is Michael Cavanaugh, who's a accomplished stage director. He's Canadian. He's worked in the United States quite a bit. First time with us here in San Diego.
It's sort of interesting. This was the case also with the Turandot production that we did last year.
Yes.
The costumes were not built for that particular production.
Correct.
So you had costumes from one production, and the production was
in
separate.
Turandot, it was a Lyric Opera of Chicago set that they had rebuilt, and then the costumes, I was not crazy about the costumes in Chicago, so we found a set of costumes that Santa Fe.
And
Santa Fe no longer had the set, so we put them together.
And that worked beautifully.
Yeah,
so this is not unusual that you can borrow costumes from another production that wasn't particularly built for it.
Particularly if it's a period piece, right? Because if you're constructing a look scenically and in terms of costumes that are true to what the intent of the piece originally was, then you're in the same world, right?
Right.
Sometimes tonally they'll be different. I will say that in our Turandot last year, it was a bit of a challenge because those were very different worlds. The set was rather muted in colors, and the costumes were full of color. Now, what we did is we hired a brilliant lighting designer who brought those two worlds together, and so we'll be doing the same with this, right?
Wonderful.
The person who I've not mentioned is our conductor, who is Stephen White, who again is, as in the case of our conductor for the Figaro this season, is a member of the conducting staff at the Metropolitan Opera, has conducted there for years, and is a favorite conductor of Stephen Powell. So Stephen asked if it was possible to invite Stephen White here, so this is his debut in San Diego as well.
What a great group of artists working together. That's terrific.
Very exciting.
So again, I want to keep coming back to the question: what is it that you would hope that a member of the audience would come away from experiencing a great Rigoletto, and I know this is going to be a great one because of this group of artists that you brought together.
I think for me, I hope our audiences will come away with the feelings that I always do when I come away from any good Verdi production, and that is that the drama really is in the score, and what a fully compelling dramatic composer Verdi is.
Yeah.
And you can, in effect, close your eyes and really be driven with all of the drama. All the characterization is right in the score. You just play it, and if you play what's in the score, it'll be a success.
I always feel like I'm sitting on the edge of my seat at a Verdi opera, because everything sort of pulls you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Just
you sort of lean in.
It's like a train, that just will not stop until you get to the end. It's a shame that we have to have intermissions.
True, right.
In Verdi operas,
and that we can't extend runs like they can in the Broadway world. Because
exactly.
This is going to be a big success, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking so forward to it. All right, well, thank you, and we'll move on and talk about more.
Excellent.
Thanks.